There is a moment that comes after the breakthrough. You said the true thing, the shield dropped. You felt the lightness, the reduced noise, the body confidence, the not overthinking. For a few hours, maybe a day, you floated. And then your brain remembered. Same selfish behaviour, same lack of manners, same person being less than you expected. And you felt it, the old pattern firing, the anger rising, the reaction ready to go. But this time, something was different. This time, there was a gap. Today, I want to talk about what lives in that gap. Not the breakthrough, not the healing, not the fantasy that one honest conversation fixes everything. I want to talk about the processing time between what psychologists call System 2 and System 1. So System 1 is fast, it's automatic. The part of you that fires before you think, the anger, the shutdown, the snap response, the pattern your body learned years ago and still runs every time it sees a familiar threat. But on the other hand, System 2 is slow, it's deliberate, it's the part of you that notices, the awareness, the question that arrives 3 seconds later. Is this real or is this my history talking? So most people live entirely in System 1, reacting, shutting down, performing. The script runs them and they don't even know that it's running. The manual override I talked about last time, well, that was System 2 waking up, not replacing System 1 and certainly not killing the anger, just creating a gap where the anger can be seen before it becomes action. And I want to talk about what happens when that gap starts to stick around, because the gap is where your life actually changes. The lightness is not confidence. It's not enlightenment. It's not caring in a reckless sense. It's not bulletproof. The lightness is the absence of the script's emergency broadcast. Your nervous system isn't scanning for threats every 3 seconds, and your body isn't rehearsing the next sentence before the other person has finished the current one. Your mind isn't running a background check on your own worth. I used to be one of those people who spent hours styling my hair because that's what you did in the 2010s, covering spots, managing my appearance like it was a full-time job. And it wasn't because I was vain, it was because I was controllable. Hair can be styled, spots, they can be covered. But those were fixes I could apply in a world where conversation shutdown was not fixable. But now, I don't even think about it. I can speak to someone without panicking about what next to say. There's just a lightness and awareness even. Not because I'm above it, because I'm no longer pretending the system doesn't affect me. I'm just not running from it. But here's what nobody tells you about the lightness. It doesn't change the world outside. Your job still sucks. The relationship niggle still carries under the surface. The selfish people around you are still selfish. The lack of manners still exist. The lightness doesn't fix any of that. What it changes is your actual relationship to it. The brain is a pattern matching machine. It doesn't care that you had a breakthrough on Tuesday. It doesn't care that you felt free for 6 hours. It doesn't care that you finally understood the machinery. It sees the same input and it certainly fires the same output. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a colleague takes credit for your work, a friend doesn't text back, a person you expected better from acts with pure selfishness. A narcissist behaves like a narcissist, and your body responds before your mind arrives. The tightness, the heat, the old story, here we go again. The pattern is not wrong, the pattern is doing exactly what it was built to do. It learned this input equals threat. This input requires protection. This input means prepare for shutdown. And it will keep learning. Every time you feel the anger rise, every time you feel the old shutdown coming, the pattern gets another data point. Unless something interrupts it. Unless the gap opens. So I'm going to be honest, the old me lived entirely in System 1. Reacting, shutting down, performing. The script ran me, and I didn't know what it was running. The new me has a gap. The anger still rises, obviously. Day-to-day life would bring that, wouldn't it? The pattern still fires. But now I give it a bit of a processing time. I give it that delay between the stimulus and the response. 3 seconds, maybe even 5, possibly even 10 on a good day. But in that delay, System 2 has chance to wake up. And it's not there to suppress the anger, and it's not there to positive think it all away, not to tell myself I'm above it. System 2 asks one question: is this anger proportional, or is it my history talking? And the answer is almost always, it's both. The person was selfish. That's real. The anger is justified. And certainly that's real as well. But the intensity, the duration, the way it wants to become my entire afternoon, well, that's the pattern. That's System 1 taking a real event and running the old emergency protocol. System 2 doesn't cancel the anger. It contextualizes it. And that is the difference between reacting and responding. Here's what that looks like in real life. I'm driving to work. Someone cuts me off. System 1 fires immediately. The anger, the story, the whole narrative about who this person is and what they deserve. So the old me, I carry it. 20 minutes, I rehearse what I would have said. I arrive at work already tense. But the new me, I feel the anger and I notice it. System 2 arrives 3 seconds later. I ask, is it really worth my morning? The answer's most often no. So I let it go. Not because I'm holy, because I have better things to do with my nervous system. The gap doesn't make me a better person. It makes me a more efficient one. So last time I showed you how to interrupt the shutdown, how to notice the shield descending and create a gap where honesty could live. That was the first override, the emergency brake for when you disappear in conversation. This is the second override, the daily practice, the maintenance. Because the gap doesn't stay open by itself. The patterns don't die. They become less frequent. They let go faster, but they never really fully leave. The manual override for reactivity works more like this. You feel the anger rise. You feel the old story start. You feel System 1 pulling you into the pattern. Don't think about fighting it, and don't suppress it. Don't tell yourself you shouldn't feel this way. Just notice it and name it silently. This is System 1. This is the pattern. This is the old machinery. Now give System 2 the space it needs. Not to solve it and not to fix the other person. Not even to rehearse the perfect response you would have given if you were quicker, smarter, or even braver. Just to see it. What is the anger actually about? Is it about this person right now, this specific action? Or is it about every person who ever did something similar? Every time you felt unseen? Every time the pattern learned that this input equals threat? The answer is almost always both. And seeing both is the override. You don't let go because you're enlightened. You let go because you've seen the machinery. You've felt the pattern. You've watched it try to run. And you've chosen not to hand it the wheel. And not every time, not perfectly, but more often than before. More often than the old version of you. I don't argue with my partner anymore. Not because we're perfect, and not because I never feel irritation or disappointment, or the old urge to shut down and stew. Because we communicate our feelings before they become ammunition. The gap lets me say, this hurt me, instead of, you always do this or do that. The gap lets me say, I need something, instead of, you never did this. The gap lets me feel the anger, notice the pattern, and choose a different output. Not because I'm a better person, but because I've given System 2 enough processing time to see what System 1 is actually doing. And here's the crucial part. My partner, she does exactly the same. When two people have the gap, the conversation will change. It's no longer a performance, and it's no longer a defense. It's no longer two scripts trying to protect two shields while pretending to connect. It's two systems slowly, deliberately trying to understand what System 1 is afraid of. And that's not weakness. That's the only real strength that there is. Because the people who matter don't want your performance. They just want what's in here. They want you. Not the managed version. Not the version that shuts down when things get real. Not the version that rehearses the perfect response while the real one gets unsaid. Just you. With your gap, with your processing time, with your System 2 slowly catching up with your System 1. So how do you use this when this video ends? When the pattern fires in real time? Don't fight it. Don't force yourself to be calm. Just notice the anger and name it silently. This is System 1. That awareness alone creates that gap. When someone disappoints you, take one breath before you respond. Not to rehearse the safe response, to give System 2 the 3 seconds it needs to ask, is this about them or is this about my history? When the lightness fades and the pressure returns, don't panic. The lightness was real. The return is real. Both are absolutely true. The goal is not to live in the lightness forever. The goal is to reduce the time between pressure and awareness. When you drive into work and those noises return, notice it. Don't overthink it. The brain is just remembering. The patterns are warm. Your job is not to silence them. Your job is to not let them drive. When you're afraid, the gap will close forever. Remember this. The gap is a practice. It's not a state of mind. Some days you will have it and some days you just won't. The practice is noticing which day you're on without making it mean something about your worth. The lightness is not a destination. It's not a state you achieve and then defend. It's not a badge that you wear. It's not proof that you've healed. The lightness is evidence that the gap exists, and the gap is evidence that System 2 is learning to wake up. The patterns don't die, they just become less frequent. They let go faster, but the selfishness still exists, the narcissism still exists, the job still sucks, the world, well, it's still just the world. The lightness doesn't float you above the systems, it just lets you move through them without being owned by them. The real you, the one that feels anger, that remembers the patterns, that sometimes loses the gap and reacts anyway, well, that you is perfectly fine, it's enough. That you is the only one that anyone can actually meet. So stop waiting for the healing to be finished. The work is never done. The gap is always opening and closing. The practice is always the practice. And the real thing, the conversation, the connection, the courage to be seen even when the patterns return, is so much better. It's waiting for you in the gap. If that gap opened for you, even for 3 seconds, Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to hear what happened when System 2 really caught up with System 1. And if this hits something for you, you can find me on my socials, Craig Lewis Life Coach. Like this video, share it with someone who is learning to let go faster. And remember, you don't need to be perfect to be present. You just need the gap.